The coffee shop fell silent except for the sound of a man's fist slamming against the marble counter. Sarah watched as the businessman's face turned crimson, his voice rising with each venomous word hurled at the barista, a young woman whose hands trembled as she tried to explain the payment system malfunction. Sarah had seen this play out 1,000 times in her years navigating boardrooms and business deals, power wielded like a weapon against those who couldn't fight back. But what happened next changed everything she thought she knew about human decency, and about the man with tired eyes and paint-stained jeans who would unknowingly alter the course of her carefully constructed life. Marcus Chen had exactly 12 minutes before he needed to pick up his daughter from kindergarten. 12 minutes to grab coffee, respond to 3 client emails about the kitchen renovation he was managing, and somehow find the energy to be the father Emma deserved after another sleepless night of worrying about overdue bills. The Riverside Cafe wasn't his usual stop, but the truck had started making that grinding noise again, and he'd pulled over before it became another expense he couldn't afford. He was studying his phone, calculating whether he could push the truck repair to next month, when the shouting started. "This is absolutely unacceptable. Do you know who I am?" The man wore a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in a month, his expensive watch catching the afternoon light as he jabbed his finger toward the young barista's face. "I don't have time for your incompetence." The girl, she couldn't have been more than 19, was blinking back tears. "Sir, I'm so sorry. The card reader just went down. If you could just wait a moment. I've been waiting. I have a meeting in 20 minutes that's worth more than you'll make in your entire pathetic life." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. He'd been on the receiving end of that kind of contempt before, from the contractor who'd refused to pay him for a completed job, from Emma's teacher who'd implied his daughter's behavioral issues stemmed from having only one parent. He knew exactly how small that young woman felt right now. But it was the woman standing behind the businessman who caught Marcus's attention. Mid-30s, elegantly dressed in a simple cream blouse and tailored pants, she stood with the kind of quiet composure that suggested she'd witnessed far worse than a coffee shop tantrum. Her dark eyes met his for just a moment, and something unspoken passed between them, a shared recognition of injustice. The businessman slammed his hand on the counter again. "Get me your manager. You're going to lose your job over this, I promise you that." Marcus moved without thinking. Years of being Emma's protector, of being the only barrier between his daughter and a world that could be cruel and unforgiving, had honed his instincts. He stepped forward, placing himself between the businessman and the barista. "Hey, man, take it down a notch." The businessman's head snapped toward him. "Excuse me, this is none of your business." "You're making it everyone's business," Marcus said evenly. His heart was pounding, but his voice stayed calm, the same voice he used when Emma had nightmares about her mother leaving. Steady. Present. "The system's down. It happens. She's doing her best. And who are you to tell me anything? Look at yourself." The businessman's eyes raked over Marcus's paint-splattered work clothes with undisguised disgust. "Some blue-collar nobody who probably can't even afford coffee here." Marcus felt the familiar burn of shame but pushed it down. "Maybe. But at least I know how to treat people with respect. That's free, by the way." "This is ridiculous." The businessman pulled out his phone. "I'm calling corporate. This establishment is a disgrace, and so are its customers." "Sir," the young barista tried again, her voice small. "The system just came back up. I can help you now." But the businessman was already storming toward the door. "You haven't heard the last from me." He shoved past Marcus hard enough that Marcus had to catch himself on the counter. The cafe released a collective breath. The barista was crying now, quiet tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered to Marcus. "Thank you so much. You okay?" Marcus asked gently. She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Your coffee's on me. It's the least I can do." "That's not necessary. Please. You stood up for me when no one else would." Marcus smiled, that tired smile that came from carrying more weight than one person should. "We've all got to look out for each other, right? Especially the people who keep us caffeinated." It was the woman in cream who approached him as he waited for his coffee. Up close, Sarah could see the exhaustion etched into his features, the worry lines that spoke of sleepless nights and heavy burdens. But she also saw something else, a fundamental kindness that hadn't been extinguished by whatever hardships had carved those lines into his face. "That was a good thing you did," she said simply. Marcus shrugged. "Wasn't anything special. Just basic human decency. You'd be surprised how rare that's become. Sarah extended her hand. I'm Sarah. Marcus. His handshake was firm, honest. Though I should probably get going. My daughter gets out of school soon. How old? 5. Emma. She's. Marcus's entire face transformed when he smiled. She's everything. Sarah recognized that expression. She'd seen it in the mirror once, years ago, before the demands of building her empire had consumed everything else. Before she'd forgotten what it meant to connect with another human being without calculating their net worth or strategic value. Single parent? She asked, then immediately regretted the intrusion. I'm sorry. That's personal. But Marcus didn't seem offended. 2 years now. Her mom decided she wanted a different life. Can't really blame her. Being a parent is hard. Being a good parent is hard, Sarah corrected. There's a difference. Something in her tone made Marcus look at her more closely. You have kids. No. I have companies. 15 of them, actually. She said it without pride or shame, just fact. I'm what people call successful. But watching you just now, defending someone who couldn't defend themselves, risking a confrontation when you clearly have enough on your plate. She paused, choosing her words carefully. That's a kind of richness I've forgotten how to achieve. Marcus looked confused. I'm not sure I follow. I own this coffee shop, Sarah said quietly. I own the chain. 47 locations across the state. I was here today because I like to visit them unannounced, see how they really operate when no one's putting on a show for the boss. She gestured around the cafe. I saw everything that happened. That young woman you defended. She's been working here for 3 months, putting herself through community college. She's never been late, never called in sick, and every customer comment card mentions her kindness. And that man was going to destroy her day, maybe her week, maybe her sense of self-worth, all because of a technical glitch. So why didn't you step in? Marcus asked. You're her boss. Because I wanted to see what kind of people frequent my establishments. And you showed me. Marcus's coffee arrived, and he checked his phone anxiously. I really do need to go. Wait. Sarah pulled a business card from her purse. My company is expanding. We're renovating 12 properties next quarter, retail spaces, restaurants, a small boutique hotel. I need a contractor I can trust. Someone who understands that how you treat people matters as much as the quality of your work. Marcus stared at the card. You don't know anything about my work. I know enough about your character. That's the foundation. Skills can be verified. Sarah met his eyes. I'm offering you a chance, Marcus. Not charity. An opportunity. If you're interested, call me. We'll discuss terms, review your portfolio, do this properly. But I have a feeling about you. Why? The question came out almost desperate. Why would you do this for a stranger? Sarah thought about the empire she'd built, the loneliness of the penthouse office, the years she'd spent measuring her worth in profit margins and market share. She thought about how she'd lost touch with the version of herself who would have been that struggling young woman behind the counter once, before calculated decisions and strategic partnerships had replaced genuine human connection. Because, she said softly, I've spent 15 years surrounding myself with people who tell me what I want to hear, who see me as a means to an end, who calculate the value of every interaction. And in 30 seconds, you showed me something I'd forgotten existed, someone who does the right thing even when it costs them something, even when no one's watching, even when there's no reward. She placed the card in his hand. I'm not asking you for anything except to consider it. Your daughter deserves to see her father succeed. Let me help make that happen. Marcus looked down at the card, then back at Sarah. If I call, it's because I can do the work. Not because of what happened today. I wouldn't respect you if you felt otherwise. He nodded slowly, pocketing the card. I need to go get Emma. Go. Be the father she needs. Marcus made it to the door before turning back. Sarah, thank you for seeing whatever you saw. Thank you for reminding me what integrity looks like. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the newly renovated lobby of the Riverside Boutique Hotel, the flagship property of Sarah's latest expansion. Emma sat on his shoulders, pointing at the light fixtures he'd personally installed, chattering about how her daddy had built something beautiful. Sarah watched from across the room, seeing not just the impeccable craftsmanship but the pride in Marcus's eyes, the way his daughter looked at him like he'd hung the stars. The contracts had been legitimate, the work grueling, the pay fair but not extravagant. Marcus had earned every dollar. But more than that, he'd reminded Sarah why she'd started building in the first place. Not to accumulate wealth, but to create spaces where people felt valued, where kindness could flourish, where human connection mattered more than profit margins. As Emma's laughter echoed through the lobby, Marcus caught Sarah's eye and smiled. That same tired but genuine smile from the coffee shop, now tinged with hope instead of exhaustion. Sometimes, Sarah thought, the best investments aren't measured in dollars. They're measured in the moments when strangers choose compassion over convenience, when tired single fathers defend young baristas they'll never see again, when kindness creates ripples that transform not just one life, but many. And sometimes, those investments return dividends beyond anything you could calculate, teaching us all that true wealth lies not in what we own, but in who we choose to be when nobody's keeping score.